Now that retail is back, let's talk about some ways that we can trade this market.
If you have some conviction about something that playing out, don't try to don't try to catch these waves. Your bag, if you're right at all, will pump. So I really heavily recommend against that. And I know it's hard, but it absolutely has messed me up a lot.
I think we should also maybe mention that the alt season tends to be quite short relative to the whole bull market. So I think while there's like these like potential plays to be made, they're brief in period where overall it does tend, like you do tend to see within historical cycles, like Bitcoin rips, goes to ETH rips, goes to alts rip, goes back into Bitcoin keeps going up. And then there is always like, man, every cycle, there's always these people that are comparing. If I had just held Bitcoin versus me getting into max shitcoinery, I would be up X, but I'm currently up Y.
Welcome back to Bitcoin.com's Token Narratives, where we discuss the biggest stories shaping the Bitcoin and cryptoverse. My name is Graham Stone, and I'm repping the hype function at Bitcoin.com. With us, as usual, are news and research gigabrain, Mr. David Sensel, and Bitcoin.com Jefe Grande, Mr. Corbin Fraser. Well, folks, we did it. We blasted through 100,000 United States dollars per Bitcoin. And although we did immediately dump back with a candle just a few hours ago that I think was as low as 93K, the fact remains that the 100,000 barrier, once thought of as an insane target, has now been breached, and they can't take that away from us. So at a market cap now of around $2 trillion, Bitcoin is a similar size in market cap to Google, also known as Alphabet, and just over 10% of the size of gold, which seems like the next target for Bitcoin. So,
Graham,
gentlemen, what are your thoughts on this milestone?
I heard Canadian dollars now have a lower market cap than Bitcoin. So the loonie is complete garbage. I mean, we've known that for a while, but it's like giga garbage now compared to Bitcoin. So, I think there's further reasons for, UFC audiences to continuously and regularly chant "fuck Trudeau." So that's fun. Yeah. But they did take it away from us, didn't they? I mean, it hit 104K, and now it's not 100K. So
yeah, that's it's a normal thing. I mean, at least on the timeline, they were talking about like how much it resembles the 2017 run up at 10K. There was a very similar thing when it breached 10K. You had the same kind of Darth Maul candle as well. So people were commenting on how eerie it was to that 10K barrier. And then, of course, it doubled. And that was the market top.
Any thoughts on a catalyst that got us here for this latest push past 100K? I saw rumors that it was, or talk that it was the crypto-friendly chairman of the SEC being named Paul Atkins. It seems like that news may have triggered this spike. But then, there's in these types of markets, when something happens, people just grasp to, oh, what was the cause? It was this SEC appointment, SEC crypto-friendly SEC guy getting appointed. Anything else that could have triggered this, or is it just the animal spirits of the market?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's I've heard that institutions and other big players who are not already in crypto, they're just going to be slower to deploying capital, right? And it's going to take more time. And they're still very, very cautious. So as all this news comes out, right, like as they see follow through from the promises, the campaign promises, and this is an example of follow through. It's going to be they're going to probably come in more and more and more. So to me, this just seems like um, a continuation of Trump winning. And I imagine it'll continue for quite some time because these players we're not used to the slowness of these people.
Right. Last week I was hearing rumors of tax harvesting, people consolidating their portfolios towards the end of the year. Um, do you think that's already taken place, or do we have that to look forward to between now and the end of the year?
I'd imagine that we will see some tax harvesting. I think it could slow down a bit, but then you have the other side of this, which is so. For example, larger institutional players will probably stop um, putting their money to work towards the end of the year as they all take time off. But then everybody goes home to their relatives, and you have a lot of free time, and there's a lot of retail money that I think comes in. I remember in 2017 in December being with my relatives at Christmas while the markets were pumping on like Christmas Day and the day after Christmas, like so surrounded by presents and seeing prices go up, and my family like looking over my shoulder, like, oh, well, that looks pretty nice. So I mean, yeah, you could also
But
see.
do you think this is the catalyst though, where like you're gonna get, we hit this big new base 10 number, yay, we did it, and now it's like retail's gonna be like, I think now's the time. I think buying the top, this feels right now. Or did they miss this cycle entirely?
For Bitcoin?
Yeah.
I mean, that is the question. The question is whether retail will come into Bitcoin. Now, here's the thing: is I was listening to several podcasts this week where this was being discussed, and people were giving their anecdotes for Thanksgiving. I'm in Japan, so I didn't do anything for Thanksgiving, and obviously not with family. But people were saying that unlike other cycles where you had nieces and nephews and maybe your crazy uncle asking about Bitcoin or NFTs or this whatever dog coin, they had people like their grandfather, their mom, their conservative mother asking about Bitcoin. These are boomers with money. They don't want to touch your fart coin, Corbin. They're like, oh, okay, Bitcoin looks legit. Yet Bitcoin looks legit. I don't really care, whatever. I'll just buy some Bitcoin. So I think this might attract it's conceivable that this will attract a different cohort than we've seen before. And in which case they'll probably be Bitcoin. They're more likely to buy a piece of Bitcoin than not.
Quick shout out to G Anxiety, who just donated some Thai baht to us.
I saw that.
First chat revenue. You
It's
win,
awesome.
sir.
It's pretty incredible. On the other hand, David, taking the opposite side of what you're saying, right? So like the IRL people I've spoken to so far they're all just like, yeah, I'm not buying Bitcoin. What's the play here? It's not Bitcoin, guys. It's like, so yeah.
Yeah, but that's how old were the people you were talking to?
Yeah, similar age to me. So yeah, what
exactly.
you're saying is the older crew.
And I think, I mean, go ahead.
No, I was just that those people, like, so retail's back to a certain extent, right? And this is evidenced by the fact that, as we've seen over the last week or two, all these dinosaur coins, the coins that were prevalent in the last market cycle, XRP, the coins people knew about last time, are pumping. So people are back. They're like, oh, I know that one. I'll throw some money into that. And that's one data point here. And the other is people have been saying that, and I don't know if you guys have noticed this, that recently we've been seeing big moves in the markets on the weekends, which tells you that it's retail traders who are back here.
Also, bull market sign. I mean, like classic bull market crypto sign. Trading picking up on the weekend and then dumping on Monday. So yeah, I think you'll probably see two different paths, right? You'll see people like our age and younger who are not going to touch Bitcoin because they see it as a lost cause, and how many multiples can it really do? And then you'll see people with more money who don't, if you're a boomer with 300,000 in the stock market, $300,000 in the stock market, you don't need like a 2x or a 3x or a 4x, right? You're probably happy with like a 20% increase, right?
So we're getting a question. We're like, YouTube's going off right now. We got people commenting in our YouTubes. The question is,
in the tubes,
is it too late? Is it too late?
Okay, well, actually, let's just stop for a second. Maybe this is also a sign that retail's back. People are actually chatting. It's like, oh, there's real people here. This isn't a bear market. People are like interested in crypto again. They're asking questions.
And the question is it too late if I buy now? And this is a fair question, right? And can we, in good conscience, recommend that people put money into the crypto markets right now that Bitcoin has breached $100,000?
Do you want my insane? Yeah. Okay, so
yeah,
I've thought about this a lot because I okay, so if I had more money, let's say more stable coins coming in, I don't know, I just sold a guitar. Am I going to say now's the best time? No. Like the best time to buy would have been 6 months ago or, 2 years ago, right? Pico, bottom, blood in the streets. I've always kind of gone on the idea that the best time to buy is when it feels like the stupidest time to buy, when you're like, what am I doing? This is insane. But usually like I see that from like it's so insane because nobody wants Bitcoin. It's toxic waste. It's, everyone's like ashamed to be a part of Bitcoin. That's the best time to buy. Right now, everyone's excited to be a part of Bitcoin, and that's actually the worst time to buy because, you've got all these people that have been holding on for 2 years, and some of them are looking for the exit door, and then potentially you're buying, and potentially you're becoming the exit liquidity. However, I'm saying this with some like, as long as you know what you're getting into, like buying all-time highs, everything is unknown. Now, there is potentially this idea that like that which is going hard is going to continue to go harder, and that which is failing is going to continue to fail harder. And maybe Bitcoin has a lot more room to go. Now, you could go look at like the rainbow charts. You could go look at like the stock to flow model. You could go just look at like the billions of dollars that, Michael Saylor is throwing in with MicroStrategy, and Metaplanet's throwing in, millions to billions now, I think. And, our government's going to continue to buy. When Trump gets inaugurated, are they going to deploy funds into Bitcoin? So then it's, can you still buy ahead of people that are going to be buying regardless if the price is 100 grand or if the price is 110 grand or if the price is 130 grand? Are there people out there that are still buying at that price? And can you get a better rate than them to sell back onto them? So for me, I'm aware that there's risk buying right now, but I'm just looking for dips. I would say if you're going to do anything, dollar cost averaging is one way to soften the blow, but you just got to be ready that like, yeah, now is not the ideal time to buy, but it's not to say that maybe it's not like you're too late. It's more just like, how much room is there left in this bull market? I don't know. My guess, I've kind of thrown this guess out to some friends and colleagues. I think we got 6 months left in this thing, maybe summer, maybe early fall. It'll be, cooked at that point, but I think there's still room to go.
I think one thing you can do is look at what happens when it does dip. And it so far in the last few weeks, dips are just bought aggressively. For example, this morning, just a few hours ago, Bitcoin, saw a candle down to like 93K. It bounced straight back. We're already back up to like 97 or 8 or something.
Yeah, I mean, I
Last
wish I had
checked.
some stink bids, some limit orders set around those dirty dips. Sometimes
Yeah,
those
and
dirty dip limit orders are kind of a fun one to set in the off chance that someone like fat fingers a sell, or just whatever happens, you can sometimes gobble up at a great rate, but you might have
yeah,
limit
and
orders just sitting around.
exactly. And I think, as David's mentioned, that what you don't want to see is Bitcoin ripping too hard. You don't want it to see it go parabolic, right? So when we've actually been moving up kind of at a reasonable pace here over the last month or so. It's not like it hasn't gone parabolic yet. And when you start to see that parabolic move, that's when you want to watch out. So I think right now, the downside is limited. If we go down to 80, I can't see people not buying that up.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
but the upside is.
Well, where are you guys buyers? Like, if the market were to dump to 90, are you buying back in, or? Yeah,
I'm already all in, but if it goes down to 90, I will. I
Take out the
will do
credit
some
card.
leverage trading. I'll do some leverage trading.
yeah. Like,
I'll take out a loan on my Bitcoin and double down. Yeah,
that's kind of the play right now that I've been hearing from a lot of degenerate friends, is that most people are already all in, and those that aren't are looking to borrow against their crypto to go even more all in.
See,
So-
that's when it starts to get scary, though, right? When we start introducing leverage into the system like
that's when
this.
it gets interesting, David.
That is exactly what's going to happen, though. I mean, it happens every time. Is people they get more and more sure that it's different this time, and yeah, you wind that leverage up. I would just say again, a boring thing that we all know, but which is time frames. You guys are all talking in like pretty low time frames, the next 6 to 12 months or whatever it is. Is it a bad time to buy Bitcoin in that regard? Yeah, maybe. But medium to long time frame, like we all think that's going to go much higher. And good Lord, if I had bought the top of 2017, 20,000, right? The Pico top at 20,000 and just held it until now, I'd be doing a lot better than I am. So,
Yeah. I have a friend of a friend who was talking about how he bought Bitcoin at like, I think it was like $7,000. And at the time that was like it was pumping at that point. And, I think for a while it was down, but it was one of those things that when he purchased it, he was told by this friend of mine to say, like, just buy it and never look at it again. Just forget that it exists. Make sure you got the keys backed up, but just pretend it doesn't exist. Forget about this app. Forget about everything. You've never heard of Bitcoin. Just walk away for 4 years. And yeah, he's quite happy now. So I think I think there is if you extend the time frames, you probably have a better shot, right? But you do have to be willing to, like, if you're looking at the price every day and you're opening up the app every day, it's hard to do. It's very hard to do.
Very hard. I think it's basically impossible to do if you're looking at the price often. Like your friend's advice, it goes hand in hand. It's like if you're doing this on a longer time frame, a higher time frame, buy it and then like delete the app, like your price apps and stuff, because it's probably too hard to not be like, oh my God, my Bitcoin's down 50%. I need to get out of this.
Yeah. Let's talk for a minute about the psychology of the market chart. The one that everyone knows. What's it called? The Wall
Market
Street
cycle
cheat sheet.
Yeah.
Psychology of a market cycle, right? And you have the euphoria phase, the Pico top, the blow off top, and then followed by a long decline into depression. Where are we now? Are we in we're past the hope stage for sure.
Definitely.
Are we in
hope?
Are we in the optimism? We're not. I don't think we're in the euphoria yet. So we're somewhere between optimism and euphoria. Yeah.
I think we're past the belief stage. I think we're getting to the point where we're either still in the very ends of the belief to thrill, but that's where I would put it, because we've already seen it. Everybody in crypto, at least, is now fully believes we're in a bull cycle. There's no more people who are doubting that we're not in a bull cycle. But even like 3 months ago, people were like, "Is this really the bull cycle? Is it?" 3 months ago, right? We were in that summer chop. And they were like, I still think we're there. But now I don't see anyone. I've never heard anyone who doubts that. So to me,
are there
belief
people
is starting
outside
to
of
end.
the existing market that are still doubting? Because like everyone in the market, everyone that holds crypto is for sure saying we're in a bull market now. But are normies that are just watching Kramer and CNN? Are they saying I've heard Bitcoin's in a bull market, or are they kind of like still unsure?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
If you're
I think they get
watching from
sucked
the
in.
outside, yeah, you probably not. You may not have that belief yet, right? That's when you have the belief. That's when you start putting your money in, right?
Well, I think
So-
that's when
yeah.
we're getting close to not the top, but the final phase is when people who should, who aren't there for the long run, who are just kind of pulled in by what's happening, that's when they join, and that's where you get those parabolic, like maniacal kind of moves. So,
Yeah.
what do you think, Graham?
Yeah, no, what you said makes a lot of sense. I think we're past belief. We're in the thrill stage. You can feel it in our voices here. You can, like, I can't sit still. It's not quite.
Do you guys
euphoria,
have those moments
though.
as well where you're like kind of like you make that eye contact with your wife and you're like, have you guys done that in one yet? Or do you guys,
Not yet.
hiding your
Clarify
crypto
it?
from your wives?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'll know when to sell. I remember last cycle I had an Azuki, and it was worth 6 figures at one point, very briefly. And I did that. I looked
What
over
an
at my wife and
idiot.
I was like, I've got a JPEG that's worth 6 figures. She's just like, what? And I just couldn't explain it. And that, to me, now I need to remember this. If I do that, if I look over at my wife and I'm like, this thing is worth whatever it is, I got to sell. I got to fucking sell. I got to get out of it.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. All right,
It's going to be a sign
gears.
for myself. Ugh.
Let's switch gears, gentlemen.
Actually,
because
just to jump on that,
go ahead.
Don't always listen to your wife. Like,
oh no, she never interferes. But I'm saying when I reach out to her, that's a sign that my psychology is telling me something. Like when I'm like,
all I'm saying,
hey,
is
I
like,
need to tell you,
the
I
risk
need to tell
profile,
you something.
Yeah, like the risk profile of the average, I don't know, the average non-crypto wife. It's not the same as someone who's in it. They don't have the knowledge or awareness. And I have heard so many stories of like wives kind of berating their husbands to sell. Like, oh, it's up so much. It's like up 30%. You should just sell. And then
30%.
Like, yeah, I think you're right, honey. You know what? We probably need to fix that garage door. And then they fix the garage door. They sell their Bitcoin. And then it goes on a face melting ripper. And they never look at their wives the same. So just be warned.
Yeah. 6-figure JPEG, though. I don't know, man.
Yeah,
that's,
I mean, like, that you probably should have sold that.
She didn't interfere. You know what? Basically, this is a version of the thing that I've seen on the timeline a lot, which is if you're like taking a celebratory screenshot that you're about to send to your Telegram group, you need to sell. And this is a version of that. Like I never am like, hey,
do you sell everything or do you just sell a little bit?
Well, it depends on how much it is. Like if it's a JPEG, it's like a single unit. But yeah, you probably just like de-risk. But again, it never happens. Like I think it's happened once or twice where I'm like reaching out to in like bewilderment to talk to my wife about something. This probably means that it's way out there. Anyway, yeah.
Now that retail is back, let's talk about some ways that we can trade this market. So one obvious way is, well, I'm not sure if it's obvious, but you identify coins that haven't run yet as much as the other ones. Let's say it's coins in the top 100 just to be safe. You look at the chart. You're like, okay, XRP just did a 4x, but this coin that's like 20 points down the list has only done a 1x. Maybe I'll get in on that, and with the plan that it's going to reach that parity with the other coins and then get out when it catches up. That's one idea. Do you have any other ideas for how to trade this market now that retail's back?
I before I get into an idea, I have something that again is common knowledge, but it really messed me up my first cycle, which is you're holding something and you see other things around you pumping like crazy, like XRP or HBAR, and then so you're like, oh, my thing hasn't done anything, and then you swap out of the bag that you have into something else that you want to try to catch the wave up, and then you just keep kind of missing it, right? You keep kind of missing the wave, and it really really messed me up. I know it's a common problem for new traders, and it still catches me to this day, right? Like especially sometimes with meme coins. If you have some conviction about something that playing out, don't try to catch these waves. Your bag, if you're right at all, will pump. So I really heavily recommend against that. And I know it's hard, but it absolutely has messed me up a lot.
Yep. Another trade is to identify the meme coins that haven't yet been listed on centralized exchanges. So, for example, we saw the Coinbase is going to be, they've added Turbo and Giga to their listing roadmap. Those are pretty well-known meme coins. And that resulted in a 70% jump overnight for Giga and like a 25% rise for Turbo. So if there's other meme coins out there that you think, okay, it's probably got to be at least above 100 million market cap, and probably the meme coin itself can't be too subversive for it to get a centralized exchange listing. To me, that seems like a reasonable asymmetrical bet. Like, okay, I think this meme coin might get listed. I'm just going to hold some of that in the hopes that it does get listed.
I think we should also maybe mention that the alt season tends to be quite short relative to the whole bull market. So I think while there's like these like potential plays to be made, they're brief in period where overall it does tend, like you do tend to see within historical cycles, like Bitcoin rips, goes to ETH rips, goes to alts rip, goes back into Bitcoin keeps going up. And then there is always like, man, every cycle, there's always these people that are comparing, if I had just held Bitcoin versus me getting into max shitcoinery, I would be up X, but I'm currently up Y. And it usually Y is less than X. So they might have, had they just been chill and cool and easy about maybe just one, going down the Bitcoin path, they may have had, say, I don't know, 2X gains or something like that. And then because they went down the alt path, they were trading, they were hopping between coins, trying to ride the wave, kind of like what David was saying, and maybe missed out on or made some losses along the way that accounted to just not making as much had they just been more patient and chill. So there is like
you got to be pretty locked in to successfully make these trades. If you're not going to spend some time on it, if you're not going to spend enough time on it researching and like looking at the charts all the time, then you're probably just better off holding Bitcoin.
If you're a casual crypto buyer and you're not like living in the trenches, you're not, following degenerates on Twitter or X and like watching the YouTube streams every day. Yeah. I mean, like you could just look at Bitcoin, and Bitcoin being kind of an index of all cryptocurrency. It's still kind of like, it's a boring trade. It's not fun. The face melting rips aren't going to be quite there compared to like max alt season, max meme coinery. But it's just like a good, think of it like the S&P 500, but for all of crypto. And then you could probably extend that to some like a handful of other blue chips if you really want some exposure to stuff that's not Bitcoin. And then anything beyond that, it's kind of like the risk on play of you better know what you're doing and just be prepared that you might goof it up and lose some money.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think it makes sense to actually get in the trenches with whatever it is, a small percentage of your money, even if you plan on just losing it. Like, consider that money gone, but consider the whole thing to be a learning experience, because once you start like getting into the trenches and using these products, good things will happen to you. Like, for example, we saw with this hype airdrop, right? People who traded on the decentralized perp dex hyperliquid, small amounts of money, got $100,000 airdrop for this token hype that just launched like less than a week ago. And that's because they were in the trenches using the products. There's crazy money in crypto. If you can play with it, use the stuff out, you're going to start getting some of the benefits from it. And you might not do well on the trades, but you'll learn, and next cycle you'll be there. I regret not using that product.
Hyperliquid.
And as we,
yeah. God. Just to share something that Kobe has said. I think he said it several times, but he reiterated it recently, which is, and this is going to bolster what you just said, Graham, but probably the safest thing to do, even for people like us, but definitely if you're new, is hold the majors. So Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, for example, weighted as you see it fit. And then, allocate like 5% of your portfolio to everything else. But do allocate it and play it. And he said that he does this personally because it allows him to not mess with his longer term bags, right? So it allows him to be patient with his most of his portfolio by making sure that he does have some exposure to all this other stuff, and then he can try to be in the trenches and do crazy things and learn. But most importantly, he doesn't tamper with what he knows or he has the most conviction on.
Yep. All right, let's switch gears a bit here. Actually, you know what? Before we talk about Bitcoin MENA, let's do a quick check-in on ETH. So, Jamie, if you could bring up the CoinGlass ETH ETF chart, that'd be good. But it seems that ETH has been outperforming Sol and BTC a little bit here recently. It feels like the sentiment has actually shifted. David, you did time the bottom perfectly with your capitulation.
I know. You're welcome.
So not only that, but it does feel like the meme coin trading on Solana has petered out a bit. It seems like we've moved on to some other meta, the AI agents meta, which is happening on Base, of course, which is an ETH L2. It seems like, and then ETH might start to outperform a little bit more from here. What do you think, David?
Definitely. I agree with that. I think that my my capitulation was what was needed for the market to finally go up. And probably the Sol ETH debate, which had been raging on for most of this year, kind of got a little long in tooth, I guess. And the meme, I think the pump.fun stuff that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, that kind of like reached at least a mid-cycle crescendo in terms of where meme coins can go. And now perhaps people are taking a little breather from memes. The Dino coins running again shows that at least for the time being, meme coins are maybe not the main focus. And since meme coins are not the main focus, probably Solana mindshare suffers a little bit. Ethereum is like one of the ultimate Dino coins as well. It also has been unloved for so long. I mean, all of these things kind of combine to make it paint a picture of ETH getting some outperformance for the time being. And as you said, there is activity, right? Like on base. And I think you might see some catch up from like base, which could kind of help pull Ethereum along with it, right? Base, of course, being connected to Coinbase doing incredibly well. Brian Armstrong, kind of also in the spotlight with some of these other crypto figures because of his connection with the Trump win. So yeah, it all seems to kind of come together for that.
All right. Okay, let's move on to yeah.
No, I was just gonna say, I still have heavy ETH bags, so please do well.
Yeah, I'm weirdly still optimistic about ETH. Like it's underperformed the market so badly, but just in the last week, it feels like there's a little bit of renewed hope. And I think inflows on the Ethereum ETFs have still been extremely strong, often beating Bitcoin inflows. So it does make me think that there's room for it to continue to have some fun in this bull market. Yeah, I think it just probably depends on like how much retail buys in on it at this point. And like it's pretty clear that you've got still this narrative that, you know, Larry Fink and you know, these TradFi bankers, as soon as they're given the green light by the powers that be, they're going to probably have to deploy some form of assets and products and things like that on chain. And they've been talking about this on, you know, these money talk news shows for quite some time. And they can't do that on Bitcoin. You know, there is no smart contract layer on Bitcoin. And then, you know, maybe they could do it on Sol, but the infrastructure there is quite difficult. And I've heard from other developers that like building anything on Sol, you know, their token standard is quite simple and quite simple to the point where it's not actually like great, but it's great for meme coins. Whereas Ethereum is like a much more robust smart contract layer. And I think that could potentially provide it with a more potential upside for TradFi that's trying to rebuild some of the TradFi rails on the blockchain. They're going to need a robust network that, you know, has been battle tested. And, you know, you've got Ethereum's been around for a long time, and it is kind of a dino coin at this point, but they're still continuing to innovate. They're still continuing to launch new things. And, you know, there's been lots of new talk related to, you know, how they're going to scale and bring down fees and how they're going to make it more secure and how they're incorporating ZK into Ethereum and how they're, you know, there was a Vitalik talk like a year and a bit ago where, you know, he was fully saying like the end goal is for Ethereum fees to get down to like sub 5 cents. That's their end goal. It's just going to take a while to do that while maintaining this robust smart contract layer and make it scalable for the world in this proof of stake manner. So whether they can do that remains to be seen, but, you know, they haven't gaffed too much, you know, relative to a lot of other crypto projects. So I'd say it's still optimistic for me.
All right, guys, hold on. ETH targets this cycle. Have we ever done this? I don't think we have.
I don't think we've ever done ETH targets. No, we've done Bitcoin targets, and I was way off. Yeah.
ETH target.
For this cycle, max 10K.
Max
10K. But I do think that Ethereum has a bright future. It's just not going to happen this cycle, in my opinion. What they're trying to do is be better than Bitcoin at being money and better than Solana at being like NASDAQ on the blockchain. They're trying to do both of those things. And if they can actually do that, it's not going to happen this cycle. But if things start to materialize for them, like it could be ridiculous. It could be ridiculously good for Ethereum.
10K max. So interesting. I think if Ethereum runs, it could. Yeah. I mean, it really does depend on how big the mania gets, but yeah, I think I would go over on 10K. I would go over Graham, so maybe 12, 15.
Yeah,
I'm going
immaterial difference.
So I remember last cycle, Ethereum was doing some face melting, and it was great. And there was a lot of talk, around ultrasound money, and ETH is going to 10K. And where did it top out at last cycle? Like 4,500, something like that? 4,400? What was the all-time high for Ethereum?
What
we
was
pull that
it?
I
up,
feel like
Jamie?
it's a bit higher.
Yeah, I thought it was 4.8.
4.8? We only hit
Was
4.8
it?
on ETH, huh? So, but there was all this talk. This was like all across X, all across the YouTube. Everyone was predicting an ETH 10K because, I mean, they were also predicting a 100K Bitcoin back then, and we've just hit 100K Bitcoin yesterday.
Yeah, 4,860 something was the top.
And where are we at now? We're like 3.8, 3.9?
Yeah, 3.8, 3.9, just 3.9.
Yeah, I mean,
we haven't even hit the all-time high yet. So such bad outperformance.
Yeah,
I mean,
like,
such underperformance.
I feel like it should hit an all-time high, right? Like there's no, like, the only reason it wouldn't hit an all-time high is if everyone holding ETH has capitulated and moved to Bitcoin or Solana. And I don't think that's the case. I think there's, you go to DevCon, there's clearly a lot of people still holding bags. I think the people that are in ETH early, they're also not the type that would probably abandon their coin and abandon their baby just for like some gains. I think there's a lot of there's a cult around ETH. And I think going back to this whole idea of like memes being cults, and ETH has a cult, and it's a pretty good cult. It's a strong cult. It's not like a shrinking cult. I think the only thing that's shrinking is traders. The traders that were trading it perhaps are a little bit more transient because there's more options now. But I think the cult remains culty. So yeah, in my head, it does seem like an all-time high is inevitable. However, I don't know if it's going to hit 10K. My gut says like maybe 8, maybe 9.
Wow.
That would be.
So you take the under. You're
I think I'd take the
below
under,
Graham.
yeah. I guess
okay.
my concern is like the previous cycle had EIP 1559, I believe, right? That was previous cycle. And I think they've since made L2s. I mean, it's much easier to spin up an L2, but it's kind of cannibalized a lot of the EIP 1559 juice of like making ETH deflationary. So ETH for a while was quite deflationary. Maybe we can pull this up, Jamie. We've got the, what is it, ultrasound money? Ultrasound.money, I think is the website. I can maybe share this as well. Now this is a cool website. Maybe I can share my screen here, guys. Give me a sec. Share screen. Ultrasound money.
Well, yeah. While you're doing that, Corbin, I do think that there's a good chance that ETH is going to catch a bid from retail. It's a coin. That is recognized from the last cycle. Once people rotate from like XRP and whatnot, ETH seems like a reasonable bet.
So I'm looking for the
I also
burn
think
chart.
that institutions really haven't deployed capital. I mean, we're seeing inflows. These inflows are still not anything compared to what I think, honestly, will start happening in Q1 of next year.
And that reminds me, actually, David, we were speaking to a normie last weekend whose account registered investment advisor advised they put some money into ETH, like TradFi.
Pretty wild.
Yeah, not Bitcoin.
So you can see here that I think, if I'm reading this correctly, the burn rate is about 1.6% of the supply per year based on the usage of Ethereum, and the issuance rewards is 2.8%. So it's still an inflationary coin at this point. One of the interesting things with like the ultrasound money meme was like, hey, this is a deflationary asset. The more ETH gets used and the more L2s adopt it. However, they made it so efficient for L2s that it no longer became like deflationary. And now you've got this like, it's an inflationary coin. So over time, you hold this coin, just like you hold the US dollar, it becomes less valuable. That's the risk here, right? So maybe if some changes were to occur where there was some, I don't know, base tax charged to the L2s at a higher value to support Ethereum, perhaps that could help break through that 10K mark. But my gut says like they've kind of they've over optimized, and now they're probably stuck having. I don't think they're gonna like they're not gonna change that just for the price, because I think Ethereum cult people, they're not in it for the gains, right? They're in it for the building. So I think while the traders would say like, change this, charge more, charge the, why are we charging LT so little? Charge more to help the base ETH price. I think the ETH builders are like, this is good for scaling. We actually need this in long term. I think they're looking at it at a much longer time horizon than probably traders and things like that. So yeah,
Exactly.
I got a slightly more bearish like max on ETH, I would say.
Yeah, and that's why I think like not necessarily this cycle will ETH outperform. If things work out, I would look to next cycle to possibly see a huge run in ETH. But it depends on how they can execute on their roadmap and what happens with all the L2s. All right, so for the last 10 minutes of today's episode, let's get hyped about Bitcoin MENA, which we're all going to this weekend, starting next week in Abu Dhabi. Bitcoin MENA being the Bitcoin Middle East North Africa Conference, which is focused on Bitcoin and its implications for the Middle East and North Africa region. What are you guys looking forward to, David?
Well, so this is my first Bitcoin-centric conference. So I'm excited to see how this differs or is the same as kind of these more general conferences I've been to. And I actually really want to dig into the Bitcoin ecosystem, right? L2s and all that kind of stuff, because I read about it and everything, but it would be nice to talk to some people who know it really, really well. So I'm very excited about that. And then the second thing is I had a pre-interview conversation with a gentleman that I'm going to interview there. He's been there for like 10 years, promoting Bitcoin in the region. And he got me excited to learn more about crypto, like the history of crypto in the Middle East, which I don't really know much about. Right, I'm from the U.S., so I know the U.S.'s relationship. I live in Japan, so I know Asia's relationship pretty well with crypto, but I don't really know the history and how like local cultures kind of approach crypto. And so he was telling me some stuff about it, which I thought was really interesting. I can't wait to spend more time about that, because it's a bit different than both America and Asia, how they approach it. Obviously, right, with all that commodity based money that they have over there, it kind of they kind of approach it in a different way. So excited about all that.
What do you mean approach it in a different way? They're looking at it as a
So
long-term investment?
well, no, just in terms of like, so for the US, for example, the US is ultra entrepreneurship, make new stuff, break stuff, try new things. That kind of explains a bit of how culturally people who are attracted to crypto or in finance kind of have their relationship with crypto. And Asia it does it in a different way, right? I think they're more focused on it from like what's the viable business, what money can be made now, kind of way. And at least from the way I was talking with this gentleman, he was telling me like, because so much of their wealth is based on commodities, right? They have they're very comfortable with things like gold, very, very comfortable with that, right? They understand it. Obviously, oil. But a lot of their finance and just the way they have their economy set up is built around this kind of cornerstone of something that like is physical. It's not like revenue based exactly, right? Like a revenue model. And so how they approach crypto and Bitcoin kind of reflects a bit of this. So um, maybe it's easier for institutions over there to become comfortable with Bitcoin because it has commodity like features. But at the same time, it's non physical. So it can kind of make them a little uneasy. So anyway, stuff like that.
We should maybe mention too that, like, the UAE has become a bit of a global epicenter for crypto companies. Like, we've seen a lot of major players move into the Dubai and Abu Dhabi region. I suspect we're going to see a lot more of that, regardless of kind of a pro-Trump USA stance. I suspect there's still, like, it's going to take them a long time to get clarity. Like, even you put Elon and Vivek and DOGE on the government bureaucracy, I don't know, inadequacies or BS, and you say, we're going to clean this thing up. Well, how quick can you clean it up? Government, I mean, yeah, I don't want to doubt those guys. Maybe they can do it quickly, but Dubai's already got the infrastructure for, the economic free zones. They've got the crypto friendly policies in the city and the country. They've got banks on board. They've got retail on board. There's people from all over the world that can already use crypto to remit payments in and out of the country quite easily. And is USA gonna be stealing more of that thunder? Maybe in the future. I just don't see it happening probably in the next 2 to 3 years. So I suspect Dubai and Abu Dhabi and UAE is going to continue to grow with regards to, like, more crypto companies that are looking for safe harbor, that are saying, like, I'm done with being debanked. I'm done with being treated like a criminal, treated like the same way that a pot dispensary is treated, being treated the same way. Like, it's like actual, I don't know, somewhat more unscrupulous characters. It's like, this is just like crypto. It's a crypto company. We're a Web3 company. What are we doing wrong here? We're just it's software, it's tech, it's fun. But yeah, being painted with that same brush and being treated poorly in different countries. You got goofy old United Kingdom, that place is a dump. France trying to charge people on unrealized gains, that's a dump. Name some countries, they all kind of suck for crypto. So anyone who's building anything is probably thinking, I got to be somewhere safe, and I got to be somewhere with, where I can grow this business, where I'm not having to, builders just want to build, right? They don't want to have to worry about a government and policies and changes of guard that change the rules. It's just like, where can you be set up with your family and your team for 4 to 10 years to just grind it out? And right now, there's very few places that you can confidently do that. Dubai and Abu Dhabi are 2 cities that I think you can.
Interesting insights. Do either of you have any guesses?
Wait, Grant, what are you looking forward to?
I'm just looking forward to get out of my cave here. Like, I live in this office. I just never get out. So, major announcements at Bitcoin MENA. Any predictions?
Yeah, so I bet we'll see, like, sovereign wealth funds. Well, not a bet. Yeah. I would say there's a high chance we'll see, like, sovereign wealth funds or maybe even governments saying that they're going to start buying Bitcoin. I think that's what you should. I mean, that would be like the headline announcement that you'd really want for a conference like this, something like that.
Yeah. So the secret central banks rumors that we've been hearing about over the last few weeks, that's going to come to a head here. We're going to find out who it is.
And again, I've talked to a couple people in the region, again, just ahead of this conference, trying to, like, set up interviews and stuff. And the rumor mill is already swirling, and these are people who are over there. They're like, I don't know if it's going to happen, but this is what people are talking about. So, yeah, it might just turn out to be a rumor, but yeah, this could be the time to really announce it, and what a time to announce it, right? 100K is already closed. We're getting near the year end. You want to kick off the year on the right on the right foot. This would be quite a thing to start the frenzy of the new year, right?
Bullish. All right. On that bullish note, let's end the pod. Gents, thank you, David and Corbin, for your wonderful insights as always. And thank you to everyone who joined in listening this week. We'll see you next week on Token Narratives. Adios.